Have you ever noticed how thought patterns, the way the mind that's called my mind, the way it responds to stimulus is always the same, depending on the particular type of stimulus, the mind will respond in the same manner. No matter how much there may be a desire for the mind to respond in a particular way, it is going to respond the way in which it's programmed to respond. And the mind says, oh, that's just my, personality. But what is a personality? It's a set of conditioned adaptations in the computer. First, there is pure consciousness. And out of the pure, unspoken, undelineated feeling of consciousness arises what is called the mind or my mind. The mind comes out of consciousness. If you follow a thought back to its source, you end up feeling thoughtless consciousness. Just try and see. Watch the thought. See from where it comes. And see where you are left when you look to its source. Just like watching a movie, you try to go back to the source of the movie and the movie just ends. You cannot find a source. You try to go back to the origin of mind and it just ends. You cannot find anything. And where there is nothing, there is the taste of what every mind is searching for. Going back to the source. And then there is the job that the mind plays. The job that the mind plays is that this mind, a confluence of conditioned habits of thought, create the experience of the body. Where there is no mind, there is no body. The mind begins by labeling. It's not only my body, it labels everything. If there is my body, there are these other bodies. It labels the tree, the floor, the wind, the grass. And it seems like there really is grass. And then the mind labels it. But if you slow down, what is discovered is that the label creates the experience of grass. What is grass without a thought? Without one thought, without memory. What is grass? It's a concept. It's like a field. What is a field without a thought? You can say, well, the field is a lot of grass. But the grass is removed, and where is the field? There is no field. It is a concept. created by mind, and the most fundamental concept created by the mind is what is called me. And then this body perceives everything. And the mind labels everything perceived. Who is perceiving? Cannot find who. Can realize there is perceiving going on, but you cannot find who is perceiving. When you see there is no one that can be found who is perceiving, what is recognized is perceiving is just a thought of mind. That my body is a familiar thought of mind, which sometimes is feeling good from the mind's interpretation, and sometimes it is not feeling good. Sometimes circumstances are going well from the mind's perspective, and sometimes they are not going well. This is the roller coaster that keeps the attention locked in to the creator of the body, which is the mind. But the key is not the creator of the body, that is the mind, it's the creator of the mind. So there is a looking for the creator of the mind. If there is any effort in it, any trying, any future in it, it is just more mind. Where truth is tasted is where there is no body, so there is no effort, and there is no labeling, and there is no future, and it is self-evident. This is what I have always been. And this that you have always been does not pay rent, does not have a job, does not have a personality, does not have a gender. All of this is the creation of the director, which has been given the job of replicating karma. Karma is very familiar, cycles around over and over and over again. Whatever the familiar trials and tribulations are, this is karma. This is what defines, from the mind's perspective, who I am. But the greatest question that can be asked is to cut to the chase and really look and see, who am I? This is not analytical. It is not locatable. It is not achievable. Simply the quiet asking yourself, in essence, am I the mind? Which is the common belief. There is watching the mind, seeing its automatic responses to stimulus. For all it is a stimulus response programmed machine. And who is aware of the stimulus response programmed machine? You fall into what is aware of that. And this is called awareness. Is awareness individual? Is awareness improvable? Someone has to improve something for it to be improvable. It has to be in time for there to be the experience of change. What can be said about awareness is that it is conscious, that it is felt. It is the only thing that is felt that is not away from you. It is felt within the heart. It is felt as this vibration. It is felt as this ease and this silence. So then there is the possible coming to the conclusion, I realize I am awareness. But who is realizing I am awareness? Who is realizing I am the silence? Who is realizing I feel the self in my heart? And then it comes back to the same question. Well, then who am I? And it leaves nothing. It leaves a trace of nothing. And this ego, mind, body is so sophisticated. This perceptive mechanism is so sophisticated, and it is built to survive. You know, this life we call the world is becoming so digital. Computers are taking over everything in this life. What is the difference between that and what the computer program called the mind, which has been created out of consciousness? What is the difference between that and what is called me? Can you find a difference? Can there be a difference in anything when you are simply at rest? Just at rest. No trying. No personal will. No attempting. No future, no past. Can only speak of what you are not, because what you are cannot be spoken. Why? Because from the mind's perspective, you are nothing, and that is terrifying. But what is the feeling of nothing? It's not something to do to feel nothing. You already are nothing. All that has to be done is stop running around trying to catch your own tail. Just to stop. Just to stop. And as soon as words are used, it becomes a conundrum, because who has the ability to stop? The grace is that everything is being ordained. It is being ordained by the Master, and the Master is the wisdom of love, and love wants you back, wants to snap you out of the trance of experiencing yourself as someone separate. And the way you get snapped out of the trance is by being freed of personal will. The way you are freed of personal will is by breaking the habit. Breaking the habit. If you are receiving what personal will wants, it will fortify the drive for personal will. There's always someone wanting something. You know, I recall the only time that I went to Arunachala and left and returned by myself, it was something I was so excited about, to have time alone with the mountain, with my master. And upon getting there, the first day was absolute ecstasy, as was anticipated. And then all of a sudden, the second day, all of this incredible agitation arose in the body, and it was so loud, it became impossible to sit still. And at the same time, this weak back got set off, and walking was impossible. So I could not even walk around the mountain. It was just sitting with this pain and this wild agitation. And it was wearing. And the first thing that arose, and it lasted for the majority of the time of being there, was anger. Why is this happening? Go to the master out of this pure devotion, always bringing people to teach, but the one time just to drink it in. And all this is going on, and it made no sense. Because this was never the case, never the taste. And then 3 days before it was time to leave, after about 4 weeks, it lifted. And by the time it lifted, my ego was so broken down, it didn't care. It didn't care whether there was misery or happiness. It didn't care. It had been broken. And then all this love flooded in. And then the information came forth before leaving that the day after getting there, there was the monsoon in southern India, only 80 miles away, where so many people were killed and homes destroyed. And this was the energy that rushed in. And the gift was twofold. One, there was a seeing in the earlier stages that if the intensity is intense enough and you just remain with it, it will break. It will break apart will. It's what happened with the slaves in early America. Their will was broken. But when the will is broken and you do nothing but feel the pain of it, that fire will burn up the will itself. So there was the gift of seeing. And then there was also this gift that was not recognized at the time, that this was a prelude of something in the life that was going to be coming, which has been playing the last year and a half. It's beginning to relax now, but it's the same type of thing. You cannot be completely free until there is absolutely no personal will. And the master, in the most loving way possible, will ruthlessly take you through this life until you have been free of someoneness. Not by getting what I want, by not getting what I want. Not by achievement, but by what the mind calls failure. And there will be intermittent episodes of achievement, otherwise everyone would just give up. Just enough to keep the hunger going. Why? So you can be with and face the destruction, the erosion of personal will. Why do I say this is kindness? Is because it is the personal will of a computer program that has drawn the attention, that has created the experience of being someone and swept the attention away from the godness that you are. It has been seen over and over and over again that the mind creates the body, that consciousness creates the mind, that all creation comes from consciousness, but consciousness is not aware of its creation because there is no witness. It is just the depths of nothingness. And out of the nothingness arises this light. And this light just is. And the more the distraction, the more the conditioned egoic construct is in control, and the more suffering. And thus the alleviation of suffering temporarily in the play may bring on periods of great suffering, but the suffering is imagination. You are imagination. Thoughts and emotions are imagination. Anything that is a thing is imagination. So you go back again and again to the basics. Who am I? Who in truth am I right now? Who in truth am I right now? This is the beginning, and it is the middle, and it is the end, because it is not in time. You are not in time. No matter how real it may seem to this computer program, you are not in time. You know, I saw this movie years back. It was a good film. It was not a great film, but the subject matter was absolutely fascinating. It's called The 13th Floor, taking place in the future of a high-tech computer company. And the people, the high-up people in this company, had created a program that created a whole world of life. And nobody who was in that world knew it was a program. And they developed the ability to go back to any point in time and experience life in that point in time, just as we are experiencing this. And then finally, what these characters realized was that they too, that created the program, were a program. It is also obvious. The number sequencing that is called the world is identical to the number sequencing that creates a computer program. You cannot find the person. You cannot find the one who is looking to find the person, because there is no person. There is the self. And the self has created the mind. And the mind has learned to label phenomena, which then creates the experience of the body. But when it is all traced back, while the computer programming is making it more and more obvious on the one hand, on the other hand, it is being experienced as more and more challenging because the body is carrying. This is the way of it. But it is all up to God. It is all up to the self. The mind says it is up to me, and this is much better than saying I have no choice in anything and feeling depressed about it. But it is to realize the love of what you already love, to realize the beauty of what is already beauty, to realize the feeling of yourself, which is unchanging. The feeling of yourself, which is unchanging right now in reality, that is eternity. Reality is eternity. Eternity is another word for the self. Every word is a concept. Every concept comes from a fictitious character that's not there. And then what is it that remains? Who am I really? Thank you all for satsang.